All right. Welcome into another episode of Off the Leash. I'm Ashley Holder. That's Leah Doherty, Mark Schwab, and OBR's Fred Greetham. We are in the building, and can you believe it? The Browns pick up their fourth win of the season. Man, I hate to say it, against the Pittsburgh Steelers, 13-6. The Browns winning in almost every category today. I don't want to say this was a completely different team that we saw, but this was... the first half, at least, was a better team that we saw. But listen, I don't think when it comes to Browns Nation, I realize they don't really care. As long as they beat the Steelers, I think they're happy at the end of the day, guys.
It was fun. The offense did just enough. The defense played great. I know the Steelers are down some people. I do not care. The Browns beat the Steelers. We all hate the Steelers. It's fun anytime they lose.
Yeah, I mean, the only people that are down are the draft people because the Browns went, lost to but it's if there's nobody one to win more than Shedeur Sanders because he can move himself like into a position by playing well, but also if they win, it knocks them out of contention for one of the high draft pick or quarterbacks. So all the way around, I mean, he started very hot. Again, they went right down the field, in the first two drives, put up 10 points, and the defense had it stand. That was. But what I tell you guys last week, Miles would not get a sack.
You did. Called it.
Aaron Rodgers would have rather taken intentional grounding than be on a poster with Myles Garrett in the background.
I think it's incredible, like the way that you saw the Steelers just operate. I think in those team meetings, they were like, no, there's no way that Aaron, I think he was yelling at them like, there's no way that I'm going to take this sack and you will do whatever you need to do to make sure I don't do it.
I mean, it really seemed like that was what their whole game plan was built around, was we will do anything and everything possible to not let Myles break the sack record, which worked out in their favor. But if you're Myles, it's got to be frustrating. There was a couple times you were watching and you were like, God, he was so close. he was right there. But can we give it up for no special teams errors? Unless, am I missing something? Right? That was
what a low bar.
I'm just saying
the bar is very low.
We're talking about baby steps in the right direction. That's something that has been killing this team.
You were waiting for it to happen at the end somewhere, like he fumbles the punt or something.
Yeah.
And so the fact that was Shedeur's first home win, right? And so that does something for his confidence too as well, not only to get it against the Steelers, not only to prevent them at least from on their home turf clinching the AFC North. So there were some real positives from, offense only put up, 13 points. I mean, they stalled out after that drive to Harold Fannin, and then he went out. But there were a win is a win. Like you said, it doesn't matter if you only score 13 points and the offense doesn't look flashy and exciting. You won.
I think when you look at it, the fact that there was only 3 points scored in the remainder of 2 quarters, it just showed how bad both offenses were not, they just weren't producing, neither one of them. And I was shocked. I mean, and everybody knows, and I don't care. I'll scream it to the rooftop. I'm a Steelers fan. So I was incredibly mad. I was like, yo, what is going on? Like, Aaron. And what's funny is, like, when you're watching the broadcast, one thing that they brought up is they said Aaron Rodgers has the best cutaways because you could just tell that he's, like, yelling at his teammates.
Yes.
He's just getting so frustrated. And I'm like, man, that's exactly how I was feeling today. Like, what is the Steelers doing? They're not going to do anything in the playoffs because I was like, I don't know what's going on out here. But for sure, when you look at that first half, Shedeur, he looked precise in that first half for sure. But then when you go and you see those two next quarters, you're kind of looking like, okay, those are the things that you have to clean up, right? To be a franchise quarterback, you need to be able to play those 4 quarters and make something happen. You got to be able to get them down the field and score. And could you believe it, Jerry Jeudy leading in receiving.
In traffic.
5 catches of 54
he
yards.
Went up and took hits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Took one really hard hit, like his
Let's
lower
give it up for
body.
Jerry.
And held. We need to be giving like everyone their
We
flowers
need a clap
today.
thing.
And held on to the ball. Mark, I have to ask you like how your feelings were because we talked about Shedeur, a couple bad interceptions. Jack Sawyer got one of those interceptions, and I just have to know as like someone who doesn't like the Steelers, but then someone who passionately likes Ohio State.
Yeah.
I just like don't know how do you celebrate that. And he did the OH to the crowd. I don't know if you saw that.
So I'm actually really glad you asked because I think it is an American tragedy anytime an Ohio State Buckeye is drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's an American tragedy, not an Ohio tragedy.
American tragedy.
Yes, it is because essentially what happens is that player is dead to us.
Oh,
we
okay.
can no longer root for him, which is a shame because Scoop and Score Your goes down as one of the great plays in Ohio State history. And the guy who made that play to defeat the Texas Longhorns and get us to the national championship game is now, at least for the time being, dead to us because he's a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Okay.
Hopefully his career continues somewhere else afterwards. So it is very painful. When a Buckeye goes to that team. Hayward, it's a shame. Great Buckeye. He's been to the Steelers his whole career. I can't stand it.
Been a lot of them, Santonio Holmes, and that's it. You
is a
watch
sore
them all
spot.
through college, and then yep. But yeah, I mean, as far as in a loss, that kind of softened it a little bit. But again, Shedeur plays well, and every game he has the head scratching moment of, what is he doing? Especially the second one. It looked like he just threw a punt up there, instead of throwing the ball away. He just threw it up. And really, Jerry Judah could have interfered him and prevented him from the interception. But he was better on the sacks, not bad there, but all the way around. Again, you see enough in there to keep it going, especially right out with a game plan. They moved the ball right down the field twice to open the game, but then it kind of stalled the rest of the game.
I actually have a funny story about Santonio Holmes going to the Steelers. So this is like 2 weeks before I met my wife. Like 2-3 weeks before I met my wife. Another friend of mine.
Is she a Browns fan?
No, she's not.
She's not. Okay.
She's not. She's from Texas. So
she's a Texans fan.
That's why we love
Texas
her.
fan. She's sports casual. She's not a
Yeah.
diehard either way. Anyway, another friend of mine. She's like, you got to meet my one friend. She's a huge sports fan. She's a big Buckeye fan. And so I'm like, all right. We all go to the bars. A bunch of us. And this gal comes up. This is the day of the NFL draft, the first round, right? And she's like, hey, Marcus. So I'm like, hey, how you doing? You're a Buckeye fan. She's like, I'm a big Buckeye fan. Can you believe Santonio Holmes got drafted by the Steelers? And I'm like, no, I can't believe that. And she's like, isn't that great? She was a Steeler fan. I'm like, no. I turned around. I walked away. I never spoke to her again. 2-3 weeks later, I met my wife. We got 2 kids. Everything's great. There's a lesson there, boys. Walk away if they're Steeler fans. Just walk away.
Listen, well, you work with a Steelers
amazing.
fan, so you actually work with another Steelers fan too. Shout out to Brian, the big,
Yeah, but he's
the big
in, you know,
honcho.
it's
Shout out to
I gotta
Brian.
work for
we
them.
know you'll be listening to
Our
this
news
podcast, so shout out
director.
to Brian. We know he's a Steelers fan, but let's actually hear from the guys after today's win.
Okay, love how this football team fights. Love that we, get to even that season series versus a division rival. Get to do it in front of our fans. So I'm just extremely grateful for that group in there. How hard they play for 60 minutes. That's what they do at practice. Shows up in games. So plenty to clean up like there always is. But to beat, a good football team it says a lot about that locker room. So I'm proud of those guys.
Shows heart, man. Shows grit. I'm proud of those guys in there. It's not easy, getting up out of bed and, doing what you're supposed to do, taking care of business, preparing, the way you did at the beginning of the season, knowing that the end is in sight. But that's how you're measured as a man, as a football player, know what you do when your back's against the wall or the writing's against the wall. So, those guys had a choice, and we made the choice to come out there and get the job done and get a win.
No, it feels great. Good one for us, good one for the fans. The stadium was rocking, man. To say that we got 3 wins going to our last game of the season, the stadium was sounding like that. That says a lot about the Browns fans and the Dog Pound. So we appreciate y'all. We got them on.
We set the franchise record for sacks on the season. Miles is on his way to do his thing, and obviously the season didn't go the way we wanted it to, but we're not quitting. We go out there. We have a lot to fight for still. It's I always talk about this, but every year, it could be someone's last in this league. So you're not in a position to sit there and take it easy at any game. So you got to go out there and put your best foot forward every week. And it starts again next week against the Bengals. Because we go out there and compete every chance we get. And it's not in our blood to lay down and just be like, get a better draft pick. No, I'm out there fighting. Because look at it like this. It is me versus them. It's it's man versus man. And if I sat there and caved, how's that going to look on me? Because that means I'm letting him push me back, I'm letting him manhandle me, and that's just not going to happen. So, it's no such thing as tanking NFL because it's a physical it's a lot of one-on-ones in this sport. And nobody's just going to let themselves get their ass kicked.
Yeah, we talked to Joel Bitonio, Shelby Harris, both veterans in that locker room, both their futures up in the air. Shelby Harris, free agent. Joel Bitonio, don't know if he's going to retire yet or not. We did talk to him about, did you feel like this was your last home game? And he was like, I mean, of course, when you have like the drive into the stadium, it's a little lonely, and that thought goes through your mind of, is this my last time making the drive? But then pretty quickly you're like, okay, it's a game. It's time to lock in. But that's one thing you can say about this team. Despite the record coming into this game, like, these guys showed up to play and wanted to show up and play because it's the Steelers. Like you said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your record is. It doesn't matter about messing up, your draft pick or whatever. Like, these guys are professionals. They're paid to do this, and they're going to get up and play, especially when it's the Steelers.
And that's what Myles Garrett was saying after the game, too. He said the same thing. He was like, I'll be damned, basically, if you think that I'm going to go out there, lay down, and let someone just run all over me so we can get some draft picks. I mean, I think we know that at this point that he's not going to do that. I'm not sure if the front office is coming down and telling the guys to do that in order to get draft picks. But, hey, they snap a 4-game losing streak. You got to find the joy where you can find the joy in. But one big thing that everybody was looking for that clearly Fred said was not going to happen.
He called it.
Said that, he needed one more sack to tie that record. He needs half a sack to break it, a one sack to break it. We have not seen any of that, and we knew that Aaron Rodgers, I don't think it has anything to do necessarily with the Steelers. I think it had a lot to do with the fact that Aaron Rodgers was not going to let Myles Garrett have that sack on him. Let's hear from him after the game.
To an extent, I feel like they were more worried about keeping me away from Aaron than getting the win, and I think that's what came back to bite them. So they'll have to fight it out with Baltimore next week, but I'm just proud of the guys for fighting and getting this win. That's the main thing, and I'm always going to keep it that.
Yeah, I think Myles affects every single game. Obviously, he shows up in the stat sheet in a bunch of different areas, but even the things you don't see, how they have to play the game. I mean, they have to play an empty the entire game and chip both sides. Those are two eligibles, that aren't getting out in the route immediately. So it affects how teams play us.
Did it feel like you came close a couple times to that record?
For sure, but I mean, they kind of fell under the same line of thinking that the Packers did. We'll just throw everything at them and see if we can muster effort to win without it. I mean, that's their MO, but of course they're going to throw even quicker when I'm lined up on that side. They had a chipper there, sometimes two chippers, and getting out quick. Sometimes they were rolling away. They're doing a little bit of everything, and I kind of come to expect that. I know they didn't want me to be the one to break it against them.
Well, one thing about it is they did not hide that whatsoever. I think it was pretty clear that he was like, yeah, buddy, it's not going to happen on me, and I really don't care.
I got the feeling like within 10 minutes into the game it wasn't going to happen. It was ridiculous that it was anytime anyone got near him, it didn't even have to be Myles. Just anywhere near me. Yeah. I know he always gets the ball out fast, so clearly that's something he's good at. But it was exaggerated this time. His average yards per attempt on the year about 6.5, 6.8 yards, fine. For this game, it was almost 2.5 yards lower than that. Now, I know they don't have Metcalf, but still, some of this was because of just the quick get it out anytime no one is near me because I don't want that guy to get a sack. And you know what? You can say, well, that's dumb. You're just a guy with a microphone trying to say that. Joe Thomas said that on Twitter. Myles himself said it after the game. Those two have forgotten more about football than most people. They both felt that the Steelers prioritized keeping Myles out of the record book over having a normal-looking offense. They scored 6 points. They looked ridiculous. They lost to the Browns. Congrats. TJ gets to keep his record for another week.
Yeah, I mean, the division was on the line. Do you think they wanted to beat the Browns or go to Baltimore and win or take all? They very well could not win the division because of that. And I do think, and Myles was right, because there was a third and long, and Rodgers looked like, I'm just gonna dump it here and not even try to pick up the short. I don't want to go down, and I don't understand that at all. But I think that was a focus on the Steelers all the way around.
Well, I'll tell you this. Next Sunday, I don't know where you guys might see me because, it will be Sunday Night Football, Baltimore Ravens, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I don't know how I'm going to be feeling. I know we got one more game of the Browns, but I'm going to have to be locked in, guys. I'm going to be locked in. But we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we've got our true or false question of the week.
Off the Leash continues. Browns 13-6 winners over the Pittsburgh Steelers today in a game that meant really nothing for the Browns, but it is fun to talk about anytime they beat the Steelers. We do a true-false segment every week. It's a yes-no question, thumbs up, thumbs down proposition. You can't say maybe, no possiblies, no living in the gray area. True-false this week.
Why
The
do you look
Cleveland
at me when
Browns.
you say that?
Because you're an expert at it. True or false question of the week. The Cleveland Browns will fire Kevin Stefanski after the season.
True.
Oh my
Not the answer is not should. The question is not should. The question is will they?
True.
Explain.
True. I don't think we need to. I don't need to say anything else. Listen, I almost said Andrew Barry. Jim Haslam said it already. Listen, 3 wins are not going to cut it. And I'm sorry, just getting the
They have
fourth
more.
one and squeaking by getting that 4th win. I'm sorry, that's just not good enough for me, right? And this is the 2nd year in a row. This is just not a good season. I don't know if you have the entire locker room. I know that when we see these one little, couple of wins, we see them getting out the little game balls and whatever. But I just feel like I don't think Stefanski is the guy that is going to be the one to develop Shador if they're going to keep Shador as their guy. And I just feel like at this point, I think it's just time to cut your losses and go ahead and move in a different direction. Who comes in, I don't know. But what else are you going to do? Wait till next year, keep them, and then if there's a couple losses, then cut them in the middle of the season or whatever? I mean, what's the point? Cut them now.
I feel like I would say true for the reasons Ashley is saying, and because someone has to take the fall for the season, and I don't think it's going to be Andrew Barry because they have a really good draft class. And so I feel like, if anything, that rookie draft class has been kind of what's saving AB. But I know some people have the argument of, like, do they stay together? Are they package deal? Would they fire them together? I could see them keeping AB because of how good this draft class was, and then getting rid of Stefanski because someone has to fall on the sword for how terrible this season was and how terrible last season was. And then the season before was kind of a fluke that Joe Flacco came in, but that was a mess of a season as well too. They got pummeled in the playoffs. So I think this experiment has kind of run its course. I think it's unfair. I think he's been dealt a bad hand here and then had to deal with all the Deshaun Watson stuff as well. But something has to change, and you have to have a big change, and I could see it being that.
If you're asking, the key word you said is should.
No, not should. It's not should. It's will they.
Will they.
As in, do they have the
I
guts to fire him?
understand.
Yeah.
So there's no explanation. I'm just saying from their standpoint. That is false. They will not fire Kevin Stefanski. And I can give the reasons, but you're not saying what we think or whatever.
Right.
Is that I don't think, first of all, I don't think they want to make a change. And I do think when he said we got to forget about the wins, we're got to play 2 quarterbacks, 2 rookies this year, and see what we have in them going into the future. That was telling me, I mean, when you get rid of Joe Flacco after 4 games, especially the way the season turned out with the Ravens and the Bengals in a division you could have won, that's telling me you're giving a pass on the coach. And whether that's right or not, I think it's false.
What about you, Mark?
Bubba Ventrone would be the scapegoat.
They need a scapegoat.
Right.
I up until this week, I've thought they will fire him, and then they won this game, and I guess I've second-guessed it a little bit. But I keep going back to the point that Ashley made, and you guys have mentioned it. The 3 wins is not going to cut it. And I know they have 4. And if you're really going to say, if you are really going to look back at that statement as Jimmy Haslam and say, well, I said 3 and they have 4, then you look almost as ridiculous as not firing the guy. I think they will fire him. I think he deserves to be fired. I understand they do not have a quarterback. I understand the Watson situation has been a mess. That does not mean they have to win 3 to 4 games a year. Okay, there's ways to win football games to at least look adequate, not find a way to lose, whether it's special teams this week or, well, we played offense, but this time the Tennessee Titans ran us over, whatever. There's always a new reason to lose, and it's not just this year. It's not just last year. It was a couple of years before that. To Leah's point, yeah, they made the playoffs 2 years ago. They got blown out in Houston and embarrassed in a game a lot of people thought they should win. He has 1 playoff win, and he coached it from his basement a few years back when they were in Pittsburgh. They haven't done enough. They find too many ways to lose. I don't see any reason to believe why finding a way to draft Dante Moore is going to turn this whole thing around next year, and it's here we come, hail the conquering hero. They don't win enough. There's too many mistakes. He's not a good coach right now. Let him go. Figure out something else. This isn't working.
Mic drop.
I still say the same thing. If the owner is going to come out and say 3 wins don't cut it, then you need to get rid of him at that point. That's what you said. Yes, we know that's 4, just like you said. But you're squeaking by. Okay, great. Wonderful. 3 to 4 is really not that much of a difference. So if you're going to say that, I think you have to be a guy to back it up at that point.
I might agree with all of you. I just said, will they?
No, that's
totally.
Listen.
And again, I understand literally because he doesn't talk. He talked in July. 7-8 months later, it's off the cuff comment that I don't think he really meant.
Right. And Fred's, that's to his point. Like, there's 2 conversations. Should they and will they? He deserves it, but they're going to actually pull the trigger on it.
Oh, well,
Don't
only
hate
time
me.
would. Only
Don't
time
hate the player, hate the game.
Exactly. On that note, let's take a real quick break. We'll be right back. All right, let's look ahead at the Browns schedule. Yeah, there's only one more weekend. It's the Bengals. So what do we think, guys?
I think
Mark
Joseph
Schwab,
Lee
Bengals
Burrow.
fan.
This is your week. Is Miles getting it on Joe Burrow?
I think he gets the sack. He always plays well against the Bengals. Joe has like nightmares about Myles Garrett, but I do think the Bengals will win this game. They're playing much better now. They have their quarterback back. Their season's over, obviously, because of problems they've had with their defensive side of the ball all year. But I do think they win. I think they win comfortably. I think Myles gets the sack record, and then it's both Ohio teams, both fan bases from both Ohio teams wanting their coach fired.
I think the Browns will lose to the Bengals and finish with 4. Miles will get the record. He has sacked Joe Burrow more than any other quarterback in his career. I think it's 12 times.
Poor Joe. I know Joe's having nightmares about it. He's like, oh, man.
Unless they do what the Steelers did.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah, but they don't play that way. They're going to play their game, which is get it downfield, get the guys. They're not doing this stupid, I don't want to get sacked.
Same way I'm going with it. I think the Browns are going to lose to the Bengals, but I do think that he will get the sack record just because he has sacked him more than anyone. But it'd be amazing to see him get like 3-4 on him, though.
I want to have a different answer because I don't want to just go with the herd. But I agree with y'all that I think the Browns are going to lose. They're going to have, 4 wins, 1 improvement from last season. It's a bummer because I wanted Miles to get it at home. Obviously, it's much better to get it at home against a team like the Steelers than on the road. But, yeah, I mean, he's had great success against Joe Burrow. And I like what Mark said, that they're not going to be playing scared. They're going to be playing their brand of football, the Bengals. And they're not going to be worried about the second. I mean, Miles is even sniffing near him. They're just getting rid of the ball. That's just frustrating. That's not fun for a fan to watch. It's not fun for anyone to watch. Like, you want the best to really go out there and compete.
I got a quick question. Do we think Zach Taylor is going to follow Mike Tomlin, or maybe it was Aaron Rodgers the one making those calls out there today and just go to Denzel Ward 3 straight times?
3 straight
times. I don't. Why?
I don't know.
Why that
as it was unfolding, we were in the sports office going, throwing at Ward again.
That's amazing. Like the fact that people are scared to throw to him all year, and you want to target him
even
3 times.
This game, they didn't throw his way until the last series.
I just didn't understand. I just didn't understand the offensive strategy. The whole game.
Yeah. Listen, it's definitely been an interesting one, but we have to listen to Fred because Fred is the guru.
Fred's wise. I've never doubted that.
Listen, Fred
I've never doubted that.
That's a segment. The wisdom of Fred.
I've never doubted it.
You know what? We're gonna end on that. The wisdom of Fred. He is the one that gets it right every time. If you need to know that something's gonna happen, you look up Fred Greetham on OBR. Okay, that is what you do. All right, Browns winners against the Steelers today. They take down Pittsburgh 13-6. It burns my heart just to say that, guys. We'll be back here next week to break it down all again against the Bengals. We'll see if Miles gets that sack record and what else goes on with that. And then after that, we're just easing up the season. All right, so we'll see you later. It's another episode of Off the Leash.